Today we will discuss about the test-driven development. Test-driven development. Okay, while coming to the first we will discuss before the test-driven development. We will check what is the traditional development. While coming to the traditional development, first usually we use it to design, and then we use to code, and after the coding we use to test the code. After the coding we tested our code. Okay, while coming to the test driven development, generally first we will write the test. During the test phase we will write all the failing test cases, and then we code according to the test case. And in the code, what we will do is we will write code to make the test pass. During the coding phase, then we refactor the code accordingly. It is a cyclic process as we think. It used to happen like this, and the test will depend on code, and code will again get refactored. This refactor we can just consider about the design. Like we can call it as improving the design. Yeah, in the traditional way, first we need to design, then code, and we use to test. But while coming to the test driven development, first we write the test cases for our code, then we write the code according to the test cases, and then we refactor our code. Like, what are the benefits do we get for the test driven development? Benefits of test driven development. Like here we will have a clear task. To test and develop. And after that we will identify the edge cases and test. And we will develop our code incrementally. And after developing the code, we can get the test results also as well. We can now ignore for the test results. Just we will focus on what are the benefits we will get for TDD, test driven development. Like mainly thing is we can identify the test case and we can develop the code according to the test case. We can identify the edge cases if we are missing any, then we can develop our code incrementally according to the test cases which we have designed. So for the test driven development, we will take the example of prime numbers. As we all know that what is a prime number. Prime number is nothing but the condition is it should have two factors, one and itself. This is the one main criteria for our prime number. Like we will write all the test cases. Like what are the steps which we involve in our test driven development? Steps for like first step is we will write our code for test cases. Tests that fails. Then we write the code to pass the test. Then we refactor. As we already discussed, what is the TDD, which we define this life cycle. Write our test case, then we code, and then we refactor. For that thing, first of all, we will create a project, and we will include all the dependencies for finding out the JUnit Jupyter for writing the JUnit test cases, and Surefire plugin to generate the report of the test files, and finally we will use the code coverage also, like how much code is covered in our Java file or class. Okay, first I'll open my IntelliJ IDEA and I'll create a new project. I'll create a new project. I'll name it as Spring Boot TDD. I'll create a new folder also. Inside Java, I'll create a new folder TDD and I'll open it. I'm creating a Maven project. Here in the advanced settings, yeah, it is fine for me. Instead of JUnit.tdd, and I'll create the package structure also. Okay, now I'll add the dependencies which are required for writing the test cases. Then for generating the reports, Surefire plugin is for HTML content generation, and Site plugin is for generating the CSS and images for our reports. For generating the report, generally we will use mvn site command for the Maven command, and then I'll include the code coverage also with the help of Jacoco plugin. Inside the plugins, build. I'll copy paste this. Yeah, now I'll delete the pre-main Java file and I'll create one new class called as prime number checker.java. Okay, inside that I'll stop my Codium browser suggestions. So for this I'll create one new method called as public boolean is prime. So for is prime, generally what it will do is it will take one input number, then we will, at present I'm always returning false. Just a sample method I have created to check is number is prime or not. So I'll create a test package. Inside the Java I'll create the same package name. New package. The package name I'll call the same com learning TDD, and here we will create a new class with the name test appending at the same class name. Okay, after that we can create a method that will fail. I think pom.xml is not saved properly. We need to refresh the Maven. Yeah, now we'll check for test. Yeah, it was now highlighting import the test class. Now it is imported. I'll give a name as void test prime number. So sf equals first we will assign one boolean value. What is the expected result? Expected result should be true. And what will be the actual result? For this we need to have prime number checker variable. I'm just initializing with new prime number checker. I'll call the method prime number checker dot is prime of number 2. Generally 2 is a prime number, so it should get return true. So I'm passing this expected result and actual result and the message 2 should return true. I'll keep one at the display name and I'll rename the method name as method for, otherwise test for prime number. Okay, now I'll run the test. So since we did not import the asset equals as a static import, it is giving the error. So our issue is resolved now. Again I'll run the test case. Yeah, it is failing. Since our code is not properly return our prime number checker, so it is always returning the false. So we will write the code for prime number. Here what we will do is, for int start number, since 1 is not prime, so generally we are going from 2 to this number. Start number is less than or equal to math dot, since we are checking the math dot square root, because whatever the square root number which we will get, if it is not divisible by that, then it is not divisible by any other number. So it is an actual more precise way to find out the prime number. So start number plus plus, it's a simple logic only. Just we are checking from number 2 to square root of a particular number, with the number which we are giving. So if we don't get any root in that, we will return directly since if first we will check whether we have any remainder is not 0 or not. If input number modulus start number is 0, then we return false. Then if we don't have any factors, then we will return true. Okay, now this is just a prime number logic which I have written. So I'll make the test again. Now our test is passing. Similarly, we will test for random values. Like test for non-prime number. If it is not prime number, I need a false value. I'll just give 4. 4 is not prime number, because 4 should return false, because here 4 is having 1, 2 and 4, so the count is 3 for the factors, so it should not be a prime number. I'm just running the test, so it is passing. What it will get if we give the number 1? Test for I'm just checking for test for 1. So here we are passing the 1. Actually it should return false, but we will see what it is returning. Yeah, if you see, our test case should return false, but our code is returning true. Then there is some issue in our code. We will check. Since our number is starting from 2, we need to write one more edge case. If number equal to 1, if input number is 1, then we need to return false. We need to evolve code one by one, like whichever case is failing, then we need to write the code accordingly. So if we test our case, then it should pass. So I'll run the entire. Now all the three cases are passing. We will check for other negative scenarios, such as what will happen if you are giving 0. Again it should fail. Test 0, test for 0. If we are giving 0, 0 should again give the false. Again test for 0 is failing because 0 should be written false, but it is returning true. If you check here, if again we need to add one more condition. If number is 0, then again we need to return the false. So if we run the test case again, yeah, now it is failing, but again we need to write some more edge cases where it will fail. There are scenarios where it can fail for the negative numbers as well. So I'll copy paste this test same. If you see here, test for test negative numbers. If we give -1, then again it should also return false. But we will execute this method and we'll check. It is failing because it is always returning true. So there is some issue in our logic. So if the number is less than 1, directly we can return false. So we can slightly modify our logic. Number is less than 1, we can directly return the false. Otherwise, if the number is positive, then we can go for this condition. Again we will run the negative numbers. Yeah, now our code is passing. Like, what will happen if I want to pass a number of values? Like suppose I want to pass a collection of values. So there is a concept known as parameterized tests. Now we will discuss about the parameterized test. Before discussing about parameterized test, we will check how is our code coverage and everything are there. Code coverage and our reports we will check now. First I'll go to the particular folder. I'll go to the terminal and here I will use the command man site. So whenever we are using the man site, our test should get executed. If you see here, now what it is showing, we have run the 5 test cases, but one is failing. One should return false. Where is that one should return false? Okay, if you see our code, if we have written our logic as less than 1 only, but equal to 1 also, we should return false only. So we modified the logic and again we will execute the same thing, man site. Yeah, so now you see we have run the 5 test cases, there are no failures. We'll go to the reports and we'll check once again. go to the surefire reports, site, and surefire.html. If you see here, we have run the 5 test cases. Now we will check the code coverage as well. For that, we can directly use mvn clean test. So we can go to the same particular folder and site and Jacoco, and here we will have index.html. Yeah, if you see here, our code coverage is only 92%. If you open the particular file, yeah, if you check here, our code coverage is not fully covered here. If you check here, input number, modulus, start number is 0, then we are returning the false. So there is no 100% guarantee like our code will get covered the 100%. We can write some more test cases and we can make it code coverage as 100%. We can work on it. And now I'll introduce a new concept known as parameterized tests. We'll check for when coming to the parameterized test. Previously we are testing only a particular single value, but how we can test entire all values at a time? Like I want to test like 1 2 3 4 5 at a time, then what I need to do? There is one more possible solution. I'll write a sample example and you can understand. At the rate test and at the rate display name, I'm just writing for test for 1 to 5. Here test 1 to 5 means I'm testing all 5 values at a time. For that, what I need to do is same, this method is common object creation. We can move it directly. We will refactor the code. For that, what we need is we need an input array. For that input data, I'm passing an array of data. For that, I'll iterate to all of the data in index from 0th position to length of the array. Input data dot length index plus plus. So here what I'll do is here I need to iterate index. I have written only the condition, so I need to write index is less than the particular length. Suppose if length is 5, we need to go until 0 to 4 index. So here what I need is string for what value, input number equal to passing like two values, like suppose if I'm passing 1, then I need to return false. Similarly, if I pass 2, I need to get true. Similarly, for 3, it should return true. For 4, it should return false. At present I am only testing only up to 1 to 5 only. It should return false. And for 5, it should return true, because the factor is only 1 and itself. Okay, this is the input data. So input number what we are passing is the 0th index. I mean to say input data of index of 0th value is input number and expected value is index of 1. Okay, so we need to use the same thing, set equals so here for actual result again we need to call the same method. Instead of I, we need to pass the input number. Okay, since it is a string, we are passing it as a value. Okay, I'll execute this. If you see here, here we no need to give the any particular message. Directly we can execute now. Is it equals expected is false and actual is false. What it is giving. So we will print for what value we are getting what result. Just we will debug. We will execute again. So what we will do, instead of calling this, I don't see any difference, but just give me a minute. We'll debug where the issue is. Index of 0 expected, result is 0 of 1. Prime checker dot number. I'll run the entire class and I'll check it. Test for 1 to 5. I've given the input data, and from the input data I'm checking 0th index and first index. Set equals okay. Let us ignore this test case and I'll let you know once after resolve the issue. So for this, what I'll do, I'll write one more test. For that, nothing but test for 1 to 5. And instead of the test, I'll use parameterized test here. Test 1 to 5. So for this, what I'll do, for this we need to provide the source. What is the source which we are going to give? For that, what I'll do, I'll take the same input source and I'll use this source. But here we should not provide as an array, we need to provide it as a values, comma separated values. I'll use at the rate CSV source. Here we need to provide a collection of values. Like for the 1, we need to give either true or false. Similarly, we need to give for 2, it should be, sorry, for 1 it should be false. For 2 it should be true. For 3 it should be true. For 4 it should be false. And 5 it should be true. Okay, we have provided the source as well. So we need to provide the input values. Here it should be like 2 parameters. Since we are passing 2 parameters, we need to use 2 variables. What is the type? The first one is integer input number, and second one is the expected result. Okay, I'll remove this value and directly here I'll use we will run this test. somewhere what it is happening. Okay, here what we have missed is instead of the string we need to have boolean. That is our mistake. For the value 2 we should get true, but we are getting the false. Do you understand why we get the false? Here we are not passing the input number. That's the reason we got false. Yeah, if you see, our all test cases are passing. The previous method also we did the same mistake. Method is one with input data with CSV source. Okay, here previously we need to get we will run this. Yeah, previous results also passing and this is also passing. So instead of providing the CSV as in values to the source, we can read it from a CSV file. For that what we need to do is we need to create one resources folder inside the test. Resources, under the resources we need to create a CSV file. What will be the file name? testdata.csv. Okay, we can write the comma separated values. 1 it should be false, 2 it should be true, 3 it should be true, 4 it should be false, and 5 it should be true. The same thing which we have used in these attributes, the same thing we will do it now. For that we will copy paste the same thing. With CSV file. For that we use the display name. File and at the rate parameterized test. Here inside the file we are using two variables, right? We can give it a specific name for them. Input number, that is nothing but the 0th index, and expected result, which is nothing but first index. For CSV file source, here we need to mention where our particular file is available. It is available in the resources slash test hyphen data dot csv. Okay, now we can run the file. Yeah, the same thing, it got passes, it got passed. Now we can run the entire file and we can test the entire test file. Yeah, if you check here, our entire test case is passed. Please let me know anything in the comments. Thank you.